What my vision is for Wiehler Mechanical in the long term is like we have a very young workforce. I haven't done the math on it, but I feel like just by looking around, I think the average age of our field staff is probably around 29, which is very young.
Yeah.
Especially for an industry where I think the average age is nowhere near that mark. Mm-hmm. I'm going to speak out of my ass and say it's somewhere near like 55.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And so what it is like trying to balance that work-life balance that like that generation has and that I have, and just say, hey, like I'm not greedy. Like, what do you want to do? Well, you know, Chad in his case wants to be responsible for selling air conditioners. That is what he wants to do. Awesome. Are you willing to help you be responsible for that? You will make the lion's share of the profit associated with that. Wiehler Mechanical will make a little bit of it. And to really help support that, to try to grow companies where, as opposed to the traditional model of trade, which is guy at the top, he's got his staff, those staff stay in line, the guy makes all the money. Those guys realize that the guy at the top makes all the money, then they branch out on their own. It's been a very effective model for many, many years. And I'd just rather take that model and say, hey, Chad, like, why don't you capitalize on the name of Wiehler Mechanical? Why don't you capitalize on the brand name recognition? Why don't you take advantage of the fact that we've got accounting, we've got bookkeeping, we've got administrative, we've got scheduling. It's all here. We've got shop, warehouse. There's so many things that you don't have to worry about when you branch out. Why don't you just worry about air conditioners?
So you're essentially taking them and teaching them some of the business side.
We're 100% open about the business side of our business. It helps that in a recession, when you don't make very much money, it's really easy to show your guys the books. But
so when you're serving craft dinner for a Christmas party,
and then they understand it, and it's like you go and you show them how to do it, and then the majority of guys, they don't want to run payrolls, they don't want to do bookkeeping. Like that's not their passion.
How many guys that you guys employ now come from companies that were open like that?
I don't think very many. No, on the service
About
side,
that many.
You know, there's a couple service guys that we have where they have their iPads in there and they get their stats, right? It's like, oh, like, you know, I contributed to $80,000 worth of stats this month, and my top, you know, or not, yeah, like my top sale was 12,000, and my average ticket price was $850, and you know, they a couple of guys that we have are pretty open to that. For the most part, though, it's zilch.
So so you actually teach them like to run that van costs this much an hour, the advertising, the admin is this much an hour, and so
Like
you actually lost money.
Is $1.60, and they're like $1.60. I used 30 of them at that last job. Yeah, that was like
We
$70.
And I threw the rest of the bag in the garbage.
Yes.
Like, I know.
And then it helped them really draw that connection, because now each 90 needs a ring. Each ring needs to get crimped. Each area is a leak point that requires to be tested. And it's helping them understand it. It connects those dots. And that's one thing I've been really excited about, because it's not like we don't start an apprentice and go, hey, here's our financial statements.
Yeah.
That's not what's happening. But as guys get to the top, it's like, hey, like, you want to be responsible for production builders? Yeah, I do. Awesome. Take these plans home, do all the material takeoffs, then do the labor takeoffs, what you'd think. Now we'll show you on our end, like how much administrative time we add. This is how we generate this price. This is how we go out to tender. And then what it does, though, because we're sending that same guy now to the job site. Now he's able to communicate with that builder on a whole different level. So all people need to do is work with Wiehler Mechanical to understand that what we're doing makes a lot of sense, because we're empowering the guy on site to be the best trade he can. And it's all the way through our business, and we just support him. That's my goal. I just want to provide support.
It seems as though, just kind of rewinding maybe a couple of sentences to when you were talking about, you know, you have an individual who wants to grow, wants to, you know, is a bit ambitious. So you say, hey, here's a segment of the business that I want you to focus on, or if you're interested in focusing on, and we'll provide all of the infrastructure around it, the vehicles, the admin, the bookkeeping, the advertising, et cetera. That almost sounds like one of those collective cooperative models where you have, you know, a bunch of individual contributors all pooling resources to share infrastructure and branding to create, you know, a common, working towards a common goal, almost like an all-star team, right?
And it's a model that's actually quite common in like dental practices, accountants, lawyers. So like we'll use the term like professional industries. They use that model where they have a single building. They share administrative resources, but each individual like like accountant that is responsible for their own clients. And I see a lot of value in that because my biggest fear is like, I like the guys I work with. Like they're my favorite people. Like we meet every single Friday for breakfast. It's a lot of fun. And I like continuing that. And I don't want to provide a business that doesn't allow for my staff to feel like they can grow. And the only way for them to grow is for them to take a little bit of piece like of the action. And when you get responsible guys who are willing to do it, it makes sense. And then we're able to share in that and then work together for a long time. And I would like to retire with the guys who I'll define as my top guys. I want to retire with them. I want them to bring their own top guys on. And I want this to grow not for Wiehler Mechanical's legacy, but for the legacy of like each 26-year-old who is a plumber. And I don't want their body to fail at 55 because they couldn't find a way off the tools.